Welcome to Generous Benefits Podcast, where we educate employers on creating meaningful and impactful benefits. I'm your host, Amanda Brummitt. Email rates are down, voicemails go ignored, employees are overwhelmed, skeptical, and burned out. So how can HR leaders, CFOs, and CEOs effectively communicate anything, let alone benefits, when trust in messaging channels is at an all-time low? In this episode, we talk with Heidi Rasmussen, co-founder and CEO of freshbenies, a company known for simplifying healthcare and standing out in a noisy world. Heidi brings a rich background in brand strategy, marketing, and employee engagement from her 27 years in retail leadership and more than a decade helping employers drive real benefits usage through smarter communication. If you're struggling to cut through the noise, this conversation is for you. Well, Heidi, thank you so much for being here today. It's always a good day when I get to talk to you.
Back at you.
Can you start by telling us who you are?
I am Heidi Rasmussen. I am the owner and co-founder and CEO of freshbenies, as in a fresh approach to benefits. And we help employers cut healthcare costs and confusion, not just employers, but their employees.
Fabulous. And as long time freshbenies members, I can attest to that.
We appreciate you very much.
Yeah. So I have a quick personal story just so our listeners understand why you are my go-to person on communications. My youngest daughter, I was telling her about a conference I was heading to, which, spoiler alert, I thought Heidi was going to be there and she wasn't. It's the Elevate Women's Conference. Fresh Benny's was represented, just not by you. And I was telling her, yeah, Wendy from Q4I will be there, Yun from Benefit Mall, and Heidi from Fresh Benny's. I don't think you know her yet. And she goes, no, I know Heidi. And I said, really? When did you meet Heidi? She's like, I don't remember, Mom, but I know Heidi. And I said, no, honey, you've met Reed. I don't think you've ever actually met Heidi. No, I have. We kind of go through all the particular times when she could have met you. And she's like, well, she emails me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, with like smiley faces and kitty corns and all the warm and fuzzy. She's like, yeah, that Heidi at Fresh Benny's. She's never met you. But because your emails, well, one, whatever you're saying in your emails are attracting the attention of a young adult. So well done. But two, you're conveying something in there where she literally feels like she knows you.
Oh my gosh. I love that story. Thank you so much.
So hence my communications guru.
Give her a hug from me.
Yep. Will do. So let's get into what we're actually here to talk about. So trust collapse communication world is how you described our current situation. And I would agree. So what does that mean? And how is it impacting the way that employers communicate benefits to their teams, or not even benefits, just in general?
Yeah. Well, I think that a trust collapse happens when employees don't feel cared for,
Mm-hmm.
and communicated with. And sometimes the way we care for our employees is how often and how we communicate with them. So in the absence of information, we as humans jump to the worst possible conclusion, right?
Always.
Yes.
Warrior here.
Yes, totally. And I think Daniel Pink said communication is better than knowing. I love that so much because even though I don't know as the CEO or as the leader, like there's so much uncertainty going on right now. I may not know, but at least I'm communicating. Here's where we're at. Here's how we're thinking about things. Here's where we think we're going. And we're going to make mistakes along the way. And just that whole transparency is so important. So I think non-caring and non-communication is what leads to the trust collapse. And people want to work somewhere where they can have fun, where they feel valued, and where they feel like they're bringing value. I think those are the things that I hear from employees constantly. And so can they trust that you're going to be transparent and treat them fairly is so important. So to answer the specific question, I think I found that the way employers communicate with their teams is dependent on their core values of their company. Because I can't answer it for how is it impacting the way that employers communicate? I think it just depends on the values, the core values of the company and how they treat employees just day in and day out. And so sometimes those core values are stated on a wall and what? Never followed. What?
Never, ever. Right.
I had somebody tell me the story about one of the companies she worked at, and they put all their core values on the elevator. And as the elevator went close and open, it just like scraped through the values. Everybody in the company was like, it's pretty accurate for how we treat our values. I was like, that's so sad. But sometimes they aren't even stated anywhere, but employees totally know what they are. And that's not usually a good thing. It's like our employees are our number one asset. And you're like, are
Really?
yeah. And sometimes they're stated and followed. And one thing I heard is this having a strong set that everyone's aligned with and you're all working toward is super
Mhm.
important. And somebody said, do you know them? Do you love them? And do you live them? And I was
Mm.
like, that's so great. And then they said there's 3 ways you can tell if your core values are solid. Number 1, you would hire and fire based on them. So like all of our core values are all through our job description. So it's at the
Mhm.
beginning that we're making sure that the people who come onto our team align with our core values and understand them.
Mhm.
Like if someone's not upholding them and we made a mistake, like would we let them go because of it? So that's number 1. Number 2 is we take a financial hit because of them. So one of ours is right thing doer. So would we
Yep.
take a financial hit if we had to do the right thing for a client or for one of our team members, for one of our employees? And then the third is they're alive among your team today and everyone knows what they are and we uphold them with our like we would hold somebody accountable and call somebody out if they were violating. Like that doesn't really seem like a right thing doer kind of action if that's what we're going to do. And it makes us go, oh, that's a good point. And then, so that's what I would say about the trust collapse and having values and all of that.
Yeah, I appreciate all of those. And I like how you really brought it back to company culture. Yeah. So if your culture sucks, then you can actually stop listening now because it doesn't matter what you say to your employees because they're not gonna believe
They
you.
don't believe you. Exactly. And they don't have that trust. And
Yeah.
it's fixable. And that's the good thing.
Yeah.
Being consistent and just continuing to, like, if you put out core values and then you're talking about them and then you're living them and y'all love them, then it really is, it's doable and fixable.
Yeah. And that transparency that I don't have all the answers, but I'm gonna share with you what I'm able to.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So well, you've been in healthcare for what, a decade now?
Yeah. A little bit more. Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. You come from a background in marketing and brand management. So really knowing how to say and what to say and when to say it is huge in your world. So how has that informed your approach to engaging employees with benefits messaging?
It's really interesting. When we very first started Fresh Bennies, somebody told us just sell what you're selling. It's low dollars, PEPM. So
Mm.
just sell it and then go under the radar. And then,
Per employee per month.
yeah, per employee per month. And then go under the radar and just keep collecting the money, but don't like actually engage people to services. Everyone told us that that's the way to do the kind of services that you have in Fresh Bennies, telehealth and advocacy and that kind of thing. And Reed and I were both like, hang on, I don't think that's the kind of company I want to run. I don't want to, like, that's not my thing. We're both huge communicators. So I was just like, no, we're not going to do that. It's so important to us. As a matter of fact, one of our differentiators is engagement and member engagement and having a member engagement system that helps people understand these services. Because the whole idea is to help them cut their costs and confusion on healthcare. It's crazy out there. So
Yeah.
and I think just employees in general, Americans in general, probably the world in general is just inundated with messages and it's so overwhelming. And we're just all kind of, I guess, selectively numb to things. So from an employer standpoint, obviously that creates an issue. You might be offering a phenomenal benefits package, but people are like, I have no idea what's in it, or they only want to engage when they find out they really need something.
Mm.
So if you can't break through that noise and build trust, your employees just aren't going to engage with them. And honestly, that's just so wasteful because it's so expensive. Like putting out a beautiful benefits package and then not having the employees appreciate it or understand why it's so good and the work that you went to. I think there's some stat that Starbucks spends more on employee benefits than it does on coffee beans.
Like,
I know it is nuts. I have not, fact checked that with ChatGPT or anything, but That's what I hear a lot.
Thinking generous benefits could fix that.
Yes, see now. I agree. It's so funny. So, I mean, we think of communication like marketing. I always have. Even our job descriptions are marketing pieces because you're trying to hire someone and you're out there marketing for and somebody to come on your team. You're not really just sharing information, you're selling a behavior change with benefits and getting people to change, to pay attention, to understand their benefits. And that requires, I would say it requires simplicity.
Mm.
It is, there's so much benefits communication out there that's like paragraphs and paragraphs, and it's nuts. So simplicity and repetition is the other thing. Like you got to keep hitting it over and over. And then relevance, the whole with them, like what's in it for me? Why do
Mhm.
I pay attention to what you're saying? So it's so funny. I went back and looked at an article that I wrote 8 years ago about branding and marketing. And I said
Yeah.
the four things: remember your audience,
Mhm.
be memorable, earn people's trust, and simplify. And it's all true today. It's like you have to remember, who are my employees? What is it that they're looking for? What's in it for them? What are they interested in? And then being memorable is just like being fun. And how do you make sure that you're memorable? I think the earning trust comes from being consistent in communications too.
Yeah.
And then simplifying is like, oh, just break it down. Make it simpler and simpler. We're in a tweeting world. Fast.
Yes. Yes. It's called X now.
Oh, yes. Make it Xable.
I love your what's in it for me thing too, because even from my employer, who I love dearly and appreciate that paycheck, unless it's something useful, I don't want an email. Like there better be a coupon or a good piece of advice. Like why are you reaching out to me? So
Yeah.
yeah, it needs to be short, actionable, and something that actually makes my life better, especially around benefits. Because I mean, I get excited about benefits and you get excited about benefits, but most people don't. I just boil it down. What's covered? What do they care about?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so many times we don't do that. And I don't know if it's like, well, it's just this is how I'm used to communicating. And so I don't make a change maybe. But it really is not just what you're saying, but it's about how and when we're saying it and whether people are going to believe it because you've created trust and consistency. So that's the challenge.
Yeah, definitely. And even different modalities. Like some people want to text, some people want to email, some people like videos. I like to read things. I'm an outlier there, I think.
Yeah.
So making it really easy and digestible.
Yes, it's so true.
What about we've kind of gotten into mistakes a little bit, I think. So what are the mistakes that you see employers make when trying to drive engagement or awareness around their benefits?
Number one is not doing it at all. I think that
Yeah, just sell it and you'll keep getting trailing commissions and the employer will never know.
yeah, right. Exactly. Well, that and then employers who are like, well, we do open enrollment and that's probably good enough kind of thing. So, but sometimes they're not doing it at all because they don't have the expertise. Sometimes it's time, I think. And sometimes it's just, I'm going to hide because I don't want to poke a bee's nest about benefits.
Really?
I do. I think it's like rates are up. We're having to shift premium costs to the employee because we cannot literally take the full burden anymore as an employer. And then out of pocket, we're right, like everything's going up on out of pocket costs. It's all such not great news that they just avoid.
Yeah.
And
Dang.
that to me, I think that adds insult to injury for employees too, which is like, that's tough. So instead, like maybe explaining what's going on in the industry and why they have to make the tough choices that we're making and how much of the increase we've shouldered so far as an employer and why we have to move some of the costs, and what they're doing to alleviate it. Like here's some things that we tried or that we're working on. I think that's all employees are asking for is like just be clear with me and transparent
Mm.
and help me understand why this is happening. So not doing it at all was my first one. My second
Yeah.
one is not asking your team what they want.
Right.
It's like it's the with them thing. Like, how do you want to learn about your benefits? What communications would be helpful? Um, how can we help you use your benefits more efficiently? It's amazing what you get from people when you just ask some simple questions. And that's how great marketers do too, is they're like,
Yeah.
okay, where are people out there, like that kind of thing? Like what do they want? What do you want when we're communicating with you or when we're marketing to you? The third one's really similar. It's not observing how people take in information. Like you said, I like to
Mm,
read and other people like to get a text. And so how are people like ingesting information? And that's what good marketers typically do is I want to go where my prospects are hanging out. And so, because that's where
yeah.
you want to be. And so where are your employees hanging out? Are they readers? Are they watchers? How are they getting their information? And then you put yourself there in the middle of it where they trip over you. Of
Yeah.
course. No. And then the last was not being consistent.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just not being consistent, simple and fun, I think, is the other thing. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
it's benefits, but there are ways to make it interesting and engaging and fun, that really connects with people. So,
Yeah. You're giving me flashbacks to my hospital days. So I oversaw marketing for our facility, and we did external marketing, but we also did internal marketing. And so things like you're talking about, especially when it was going to be hard to digest for the employees, the internal marketing team, we would wordsmith it and make it fun, make it easy. And yeah, I've actually never thought about that as a strategy for benefits, but I almost wonder if there needs to be some internal marketing going on.
yes, totally. Because it's like you're selling, you are selling the benefit packages to the employees and you want to sell them. Like there's so much positive in there. There's a lot of negative
Mhm.
these days too with costs, and coverage issues and all that. But like you're paying so much money for those benefits that you really are selling to the employees to help make sure they understand it and that they understand how to use it and when to use it.
Yeah, because ultimately that's a retention tool.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Shows
Okay.
the trust collapse. It shows that we're not like we still care for you and we want you to have these good benefits and we want you to stick around.
Yeah. Yeah. And we acknowledge it might not all be ideal. There's a way to say it.
It is so, you're exactly right. Words matter big time. There's certain words that are fighting words that you just like obliterate those from your language when you're speaking about things. And there's ways that, are more sweet smelling when you're having to deliver not great news.
Yes.
I didn't
Like,
bad news. I said not great news. That's one way to do it.
yeah, like I think you should never use unfortunately. Unfortunately, comma. Like, oh, I'm ready. What's coming next? Or
I
however.
Here it comes. Like when people say, with all due respect, there is no respect.
No, I'm about to insult you.
I love that term. I never say it for safety.
Oh, that's funny. And then we could add the Southern version. Bless your heart.
Bless your heart. And heart, it has to be two syllables. Heart.
Right.
Hmm.
Okay. So now we've talked about what not to do. What are some tactics that you see that are working or mechanisms that are working to really cut through the clutter and actually connect with people?
Yeah. Well, the opposite of the four things I just mentioned, like actually do it, see what they want. No. Um,
Yes.
so I think there's kind of a when, where, and how. So
Mhm.
when is consistency is key. I just read the other day, I think it's we as humans in today's world require 7 to 20 touch points before we take action.
Whoa.
Yeah. So for salespeople, stay on it because after 8, you might have a better chance. you know?
Wow.
7 to 20. So even your internal team, it's the same thing if you're you're really marketing your benefits to your team. So it's
Mhm.
20 touch points before they're going to go, oh, I should really pay attention to that. Right.
Mhm.
So the consistency matters. And then the where. So like there's so many different ways to get to your employees. This is the whole figure out where they're at and then get into that channel. So maybe it's the employee portal, maybe it's a newsletter, maybe it's text you use, maybe it's stand-up meetings, maybe it's talking points for a supervisor, because when you're in 1-to-1 or 5-to-1, it's easier than a mass communication that's going out. Maybe bulletin boards work. I mean, the inside of the stalls we used to use when I was at JCPenney all the time, we put things in there and it got the best people to
Yeah.
really remember things. So whatever that is, figuring out where. And then, the how is we just read a book, all of our team, called Smart Brevity. It is amazing. It tells you how to break down your message and to make it more readable for your viewers.
Ooh.
So being smart about that, smart brevity, and fun and simple, and using video, making it personalized, um, putting people into smaller groups when you're doing it so it isn't mass. But one other tip, like for Fresh Bennies, we love when employers use other employees to create a testimonial with Fresh Bennies, because the second that an employee says, I just use this service and these great things happen to me, everybody else goes, oh, it's just kind of like an Amazon review, and it's right there. And so if you can get testimonials from your team about different services that they used and they appreciated, because there's so many other things outside the health plan that employers are providing. Even if it's like reminding people to get their second pair of glasses or whatever it is in the vision plan, that kind of thing, that's helpful, and getting testimonials from your employees about the good things that are happening in their benefits.
Yeah. Oh, that's all really, really good. I love the individual testimonials. There's something impactful about going, oh, that worked for Heidi. Okay, I'm going to try that then.
Really. Yeah.
Yeah. Is
They all
that
know, they all
social
know
proof?
her or him, or
Hmm.
maybe they don't, but they all work for the same company. So there's some sort of, you know, connection.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So I'm a CEO, CFO, HR leader, and I really want to boost trust and usage of the benefits. What's one thing I should do now or in the next couple of months to move the needle?
I love this question. After years in marketing and communication, the biggest mistake that I see people make is they all jump to tactics and actions. Like everybody's like, here's what I'm going to do. And then it's like they do it for 2 weeks and it's done. And then nothing happens
Right.
after that, right?
Right.
It's a human flaw. What are you going to do? So the one thing that I always encourage is make a plan, like take a step back and make a plan and make something that's achievable. Because, many of us are overachievers and we're like, oh, I'm going to make a plan. It has 17-point steps for how I'm going to do this. Like if
Yeah.
it's 2 extra things you do in a weekly basis or a monthly basis, whatever that looks like. So it shouldn't be overwhelming, because the second it becomes overwhelming, we stop doing it anyway. So just make a plan that's achievable. Because to me, it's the consistency thing. If people continue to see those 7 to 20 touch points, like if you're continuing to put out benefits information, people will eventually, and you're doing it in a fun, consistent, simple way, people will eventually start to pay attention to it
Yeah.
and change their behaviors as a result of it, and be excited about the thousands and sometimes millions of dollars that are being spent on their benefits every year. So,
Yeah.
ask your team what's helpful, create the plan, and then execute it consistently. It's like create the plan, execute the plan. It's the big.
Yeah. And so if I'm hearing you right, this isn't just something we do leading up to and during open enrollment. This is year round.
Yeah. That's what I see, the best companies, that where the employees are most engaged in their benefits and using um, those benefits, especially for Fresh Bennies, because like when they use Fresh Bennies, they're actually saving costs. It's helping the employer and the employee. So they really want to
Yeah.
push those for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of times you don't know when you're going through open enrollment that you're going to need fresh bennies. And then, oh, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and my kid has a fever. Fresh bennies.
Just got this crazy medical bill or this diagnosis, and I need some help navigating that. Like all those things, it is, we as humans pay attention to things when we want to pay attention to them. So, but at least when you're communicating consistently in an easy way, they know, okay, I know what to do. So,
Fabulous. Okay. Well, not only have I gotten all kinds of good ideas to share with our listeners, but as I'm even thinking about our own internal benefit strategy, oh, we actually need to do a better job of this even internally. So thank you for that, Heidi.
Hey, I'm so glad. Thank you for having me. It's awesome.
Yeah, of course. And as always, so appreciate you sharing all the great information, all your marketing tips, and yeah, helping us all do a better job with benefits.
Happy to do it. And it's great to see you.
Thanks for joining us for this conversation with Heidi Rasmussen. In a world where communication is fractured and trust is fragile, your message needs to not only be clear, but believable and worth someone's time. Remember, engagement starts with understanding what your people actually need, meeting them where they are, and delivering real value, not more noise.